This is a very famous castle. Maybe one of the most famous castles. This one's in Germany. I believe, if memory serves, this was the inspiration for the design of Cinderella's castle in Disneyland in California. And this is actually a very well-known perspective on the castle, and there's loads of posters, and you see this image around. This is not a photograph. This is a painting. As paintings go, it's okay. It's not terrible. Not great. But we like to think that we can spot the soul of an artist in their work, or a lot of us do, a lot of the time. So, what do you reckon? This was painted by a genocidal madman named Adolf Hitler, and he's even signed it down there. Now, famously, Hitler was an unsuccessful artist. There are those who would say that the criticism of his work as an artist is part of what drove him to madness, this particular brand of madness. I don't know if that's true. I suspect it was something a bit more serious than that. But people joke about Adolf Hitler's art, saying that it was terrible. He was a terrible artist. Now, I don't know if that's a fair judgment of his work. I'm not an expert on these things. But what if Hitler had been a brilliant painter? What if he had been a genius as an artist? Would we say so? Would we admit it? Would we give him that? We are really uncomfortable with those relationships between problematic people and art that we admire. And of course, this is in the air because of the situation with the Michael Jackson documentary, Leaving Neverland, and people talking about, well, can I even listen to this music anymore? This is an ongoing issue, because the thing about art is that art is about exploring the boundaries of the human experience, and often the most profound ruminations on those boundaries come from people who live on the margins of society. Often those people have been marginalized through no fault of their own, maybe because they have the wrong skin color or the wrong sexual orientation or what have you. And sometimes they're out on the margins because they are not like the rest of us. And you will find that if we want to only enjoy art created by people whose characters we can endorse, that we suddenly deprive ourselves of vast amounts of brilliant and valuable art. Let me give you some examples of what I mean. I mean, in the recent past, we've talked about Bill Cosby. Can we watch The Cosby Show? Kevin Spacey, the films of Harvey Weinstein, and R. Kelly is pretty persona non grata at this stage. But if you think back to the things that R. Kelly apparently has done, look at Chuck Berry. Chuck Berry, back in the day, engaged in some somewhat similar behaviors, and we still, admire Chuck Berry. A lot of people do anyway. This is a famous painting. This is by Paul Gauguin, who was a friend and contemporary of Vincent van Gogh, or Van Gogh. And he was famously moved to Tahiti and painted lots of beautiful paintings of Tahitian women. And he was a very, very important artist in the Impressionist movement. I suspect you will have heard of him. But you know what he was doing in Tahiti? He had a wife and I think 5 kids that he left. Managed to scrounge a bunch of money off of his social contacts, ran away to Tahiti, and married a 13-year-old girl, a 14-year-old girl, and another 14-year-old girl. He had 3 teenage wives. He then proceeded to give them all syphilis. And this is a reprehensible human being. But a very important artist whose work hangs in some of the most prestigious galleries on earth. Picasso was a notorious misogynist. I've written some notes here just to remind me. William Golding, the Nobel Prize-winning author, admitted in his own memoir, unpublished up until after his death, that he'd attempted to rape a 15-year-old girl. Caravaggio was a sex trafficker. Elvis Presley engaged in behavior that may sound familiar to us. He was known for having teenage fans, often in their early teens, brought into his home, and he would have slumber parties with groups of these sort of 14, 15-year-old girls in his bed. Reportedly. Now, the point I'm trying to make is not that we should give up on artists because they're all perverse freaks. The point is that sometimes important work is created by damaged individuals. And we need to, I think, as much as we can, try to separate the art from the artist. And if that means that it's okay to play Michael Jackson music on the radio, then so be it. We're human beings. We're sensitive to these issues. There are people who've experienced trauma that can be triggered by being confronted with the work of these people. So we want to be sensitive about it and not throw it in people's faces. But if you enjoy The Cosby Show, continuing to enjoy The Cosby Show is not an endorsement of what he did to all of those women. Same thing with Michael Jackson. If Michael Jackson's work, his art, has brought joy into your life, there is no need to deprive yourself of it because you've discovered that he behaved in ways that are unacceptable. The art is not the artist. They are not the same thing. And as I said before, once a piece of art has been created, it doesn't belong to the artist anymore. It belongs to the world. It belongs to all of us. And I think if we take a step back, we can recognize that once some time has passed and you have some emotional distance, it is more palatable to consume art by people like Michael Jackson or Paul Gauguin. Because respecting the work does not mean excusing how they conducted themselves in their personal lives. The two things are unrelated. To me, that's what I feel. So from my point of view, with sensitivity, I think we can continue to enjoy work by people like Bill Cosby and Michael Jackson and Kevin Spacey and Harvey Weinstein and all those criminals. Don't let it cause you any sort of guilt if you find that you still enjoy this work, because it is not the same thing as endorsing what they did. It really isn't. That's my point of view. What's yours? Thank you.